Where would you put Carlos Correa all time amongst Houston athletes? At the top.
No, we're not doing a Mount Rushmore because I hate those.
We're not doing a Mount Rushmore. I'm saying, how far on the list do you think that you would go before you said Carlos Correa? And
let's do an ESPN Top 25.
Okay.
Right? The ESPN Top 25 like we would do for college football rankings.
Okay.
I think that in no particular order, I think you have Akeem, Baggy, Biggio, Earl Campbell. I think those are the 34s, and then Nolan Ryan somewhere on that list.
I think that, the top three has to be, in my opinion, Hakeem, Nolan Ryan, and on top of that, I would put Earl Campbell in there as well.
I think Baggy and Bish, and I think a lot of people forget.
I think they're 4 or 5.
Because I think that because I think Nolan, people forget, Mets, Angels, Rangers, he didn't play the majority of his career with the Astros or be that one team in the city like Dream did, like Baggy and Biggio did. And I think that resonates in terms of the legend status.
I will say, I said that too quickly. I put Altuve over both of them.
Over Bagwell and Biggio?
Yes.
I think Altuve is very high on that list as well.
Justin Verlander is in the conversation, I think, though, because he wasn't here
shorter
quite
term,
as long.
Again, other teams. But, yeah, when you start looking at it, if by the time all is said and done, if he's close to playing as many games in an Astros uniform as he was in a Tigers uniform, and Brendan, I don't know how many years total he played for the Tigers, but look, it's been more than a couple now that he's been doing great things in an Astros uniform, that if he does plan on playing into his 40s and he plays here, at a certain point, he's in the conversation and he goes higher up on the list.
So we're just going to continue to list names until we think that
I think as much as Correa would be ahead of him. James Harden
has to be
was part of a big point in history for Rockets' success. He has to be in there.
Harden has to be in there. Some other basketball ones. Just tell me if you would put Carlos Correa above this guy, because you are the basketball guy here. Yao Ming.
No.
Clyde Drexler.
That's close, because, again, Clyde's a Blazer.
Quick time. He was here.
But he did win he won a championship for the city, but so did Correa. I'd say Correa above Clyde in terms of, but you know what? See, there's another caveat. From Sterling High School to the Cougs.
That's true.
That's the Houston connection. I think Clyde is probably above Correa.
Tracy McGrady.
Correa's above McGrady.
Okay. Moses Malone, going way back in time.
I'd say Moses is above Correa.
Okay. So right now, I don't know. We got we probably said about 8, 9 names, and only a couple that we would put ahead. As far as the baseball side of things, we've already said Nolan Ryan, we've said Jose Altuve, we've said Justin Verlander, we've said Craig Biggio, we have said Jeff Bagwell. Lance Berkman, above or below Carlos Correa?
Oh boy, that's tough because he didn't win a title, but he did so much for you, and he's borderline Hall of Fame.
Because I don't know that Correa will be a Hall of Famer right now. I don't. I think the cheating thing is going to be attached to him for the rest of his career.
But again, I don't know that Berkman will. That Berkman will. And as a switch hitter, his numbers are phenomenal. I just don't know that he'll get enough national, support and votes. But I think, that's tough, man. I put the body of work that Lance did, All-Stars and otherwise. I'll put Lance above Correa.
Okay. One that's being thrown in there, and I think that this is a pretty good one. J.R. Richard, you can't forget him.
J.R. Richard? Yep.
Yeah, so, that's a guy that...
James Rodney was a legend. Unfortunately, career cut short, but by with
the Astros from 1971 to 1980.
And all that. But, yeah, J.R. was a problem for everybody in baseball, and he was dominant, but it was a smaller window of time.
Still 10 years. He was an Astro for 10 years. Now, before... I think the relevant years in the 1980s, 1986 in particular and stuff. But
here's the thing, because when we're doing the list, the one thing that you have to realize is I think a lot of it is folklore and the intangible things, mound visits, that put Correa in everybody's heart. But in terms of you can't forget about how many seasons he was hurt. How many seasons?
Yeah.
The numbers just don't add up to all-star and above.
The playoff moments and the yelling into a mic moment add a little bit of lore to
Correa
a guy that's
was a
missed
home
a lot of
run
games.
at a time when the rest of his playoffs, he had 2 other hits, I think. So, he struggled mightily, but he had a big clutch, big time hit that people remember. People forget because they remember that home run that he didn't have a good playoffs that year in terms of offensively. So I think that's where a lot gets lost in the shovel with his availability and the numbers he put up consistently with injury. So I think JR is above him.
Great Houston athletes. We're basically trying to figure out where Correa
Warren
ranks.
Moon's above him, right?
Yeah, I think you got to put Warren Moon above him. Those early 90s Oilers teams, it's a shame, of course, they had the big collapse of the Bills. That's what you remember them for, and for the drama that happened in the year. What was it afterwards where they had all that bleep hit the fan? I think there's like a documentary on the NFL Network about it. Roger Clemens, really quick little window, but I mean, the guy, played at UT. He played at UT too. He is a Houston guy. And it was like a nice finishing chapter to his career.
Yeah, there's local ties there for sure. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, but again, he played for multiple teams.
Got you to a World Series.
Didn't win it.
True.
Correa did.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say from a Houston perspective, I think that Correa is above Clemens.
I think that's a close one. I'm not a Clemens fan because of I grew up in Boston, but I think I would put Clemens above him in that one.
Clemens above Correa?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think
I go the other direction in the fact that Correa won one here and he was here longer.
See, that part's big. I think that the local ties with Clemens as being a Texas guy. I think
Andy Pettit's a Deer Park guy, and Andy Pettit was there with Clemens, but Andy Pettit was a Yankee.
Clemens, but yeah, you're right. I always think of Andy Pettit as a Yankee. I think of Roger Clemens as kind of in the same way I think of Nolan Ryan in that like he pitched for a bunch of different teams.
He pitched for almost every team in the AL East but the Orioles.
Pretty nuts. We have a call, 713-780-3776. Where does Carlos Correa rank among Houston athletes all time? We're thinking I don't know, probably in like the 20s, maybe
yeah.
That's why
I said top 25. I think he's in the top 25, but I don't think he's as high as some people might at first glance, think.
Josh is calling in. Josh, what's up?
He was a great leader after the scandal, but I think we lost him when he signed with Boris. But I rank him up there with Tim Bogar and Morgan Ensberg around that level.
Okay.
And
we're going pretty far down the list then.
Yeah. Like.
Okay.
Thanks, Josh.
Appreciate that one, Josh.
Wow, I didn't see that coming either. I mean, I can
Morgan
see him
Ensberg
at the bottom end of the top 25, but Morgan Ensberg and Tim Bogar?
No, come on. This is a guy that had like legendary.
Adam Everett? Is that next?
yeah, right. That would be
Don't
the
go
next
that
one.
far.
Texan side of things. We and this is the tricky thing.
JJ's above him.
JJ's above him.
Andre's above him. Yes, he is. Played here longer.
I know
He's
he played here
in
longer,
the Hall of Fame.
and it's not his fault.
Right. He didn't pick the quarterback.
I was a lot more certain about Andre making the Hall of Fame.
You'd put Correa over Andre?
I feel like I have more memories with Carlos Correa than I do with Andre.
That's the fool's gold that people are buying into.
Mm-hmm.
They're letting that tug at your heartstrings. You're giving the second chance to, as opposed to the pure numbers and longevity.
Yeah, you're probably right on that one. DeAndre Hopkins is in that borderline zone too.
Yeah, I think Correa's over DeAndre.
As far as other football players, we
said
mentioned Warren Moon
Moon
already. We mentioned Earl Campbell already. I mean,
I don't think Robert Brazil has the cachet and he just.
And I think that's an Adams family problem, making the team leave town.
Sure,
I think it might be a little bit different if the guy was still a part of this.
The Robert
city.
Brazils, the Dan Pastorinis. I think that
Bruce Matthews.
They weren't marketed the same way. Even Hall of Famer like Bruce Matthews, Ray Childress was a big time guy that had all the local endorsements. But yeah, I mean, I think Correa, again, when you build in the combo platter of all the cachet and the big moments we're talking about, and the fact that the longevity says, I think he's above a lot of those guys.